Hi, welcome to the first ever live lunchtime show of the John Gaunt podcast. Welcome aboard as we welcome the Prime Minister getting on board one of our submarines, our nuclear submarines. You don't think he's a warmonger, do you? You don't think he's trying to soften us up to send our boys to die in Ukraine? He wouldn't be doing anything as cynical as that, would he? But in this little 15-minute, 20-minute show, I'm going to talk about two or three subjects. I want to talk about Starmer and the submarine. And as I say, it's ironic he's gone to see a submarine in Barrow and Furness because he's dragging us all down. He's taking the whole country down, down, deeper and down. Only been in charge 7 months and he's cocked it up. We've got rats the size of cats, evidently, on this, that's not a cliche, on the streets of Birmingham. There's a massive dustbin lorry strike there. We'll be talking about that. And people now are annoyed that the streets are full of rubbish. Although the streets the BBC are using to illustrate it, that's what it normally looks like. That is what it normally looks like in places like Alham Rock and Borsall Heath and Sparkhill. They are shitholes. They are. It's a fact. I'm not saying the dustbin strike is right. Do you remember that programme? Mum, wow, it's the dustbin men. Was that Jack Rosenthal? I love that. I love that programme. So we're going to be talking about the bin strike. We're also going to talk about Finland. I'm going to tell you about the time I nearly had a fight with the bloke who is now the Prime Minister of Finland. And evidently Finland is the best place to live in the world. Not if that prat lives there. That's all I can say. I had a massive row with him in the European Parliament. I've just been looking it up in the archives. He alleges I told him to F off, which is not true. He called me a racist because we were talking about borders. It was in the European Parliament. And we were talking about the fact we need stronger borders and we need to deter people from coming into the country. He went on and real pompous and pious. He wasn't the Prime Minister then. He was the Foreign Secretary of Finland. Anyway, he was married to some Birmingham woman, so he was quite good at English, although he's no longer married to her. But anyway, he had a right pop at me, and he says that I told him to F off. I did not do that. I'm so professional. I wouldn't. But basically, it nearly came to blows. And then Sean, my producer, found out that Finland had hardly any immigration. So he's there talking about how we've got no right to put up borders, and they weren't taking anyone in. It's changed. Finland now has quite a few people going to it, emigrating there, but it's now the best place in the world to live, if you believe this bullshit survey today that the BBC have put up. But also, not only that, we're 23rd. We're the 23rd best or worst, whichever way you want to look at it, country to live in. So we'll talk about that. But it's no surprise, is it, with what's happened with Starmer? Starmer, he has the barefaced cheek to meet these submariners when they come back from a mission and basically says to them, you're going in against Russia, lads. I bet they'd welcome that. That'd be like welcoming a sausage roll at a bar mitzvah, wouldn't it? And he's got the temerity to stand there. And he's doing the big John Major, Margaret Thatcher pose. He's on top of a submarine, not a tank this time. I put the picture up on Facebook. You can see it. But he's, as I say, he's taken us all down. He's taken us all down. Starmer, now the defender of British troops. You'd really follow him into battle, wouldn't you? Come on, lads, over the top. He turns around, there's no one there. Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean, or as, what's his name? Baldrick's mate. He'd have more chance, again, forgot my references then, of people going over the top with him. Starmer's never going to be a leader. Meanwhile, he's ignored the domestic front. He's ignored hospitality. Pubs and clubs and restaurants going bust left, right and centre. And he's doing nothing to help them. Absolutely disgraceful. No cuts in toll in VAT. He could make a real difference to what's happening. But those places, top-end restaurants through to back street pubs are closing. There'll be no hospitality left. Not only that, in Birmingham, they've got rats the size of cats. What's he doing to solve that? He's so busy pouncing on the international stage, he's not actually concentrating on the things that matter to us. OAPs losing their winter fuel allowance, students being screwed to the floor, council tax rises coming up, even though now they can't clean the streets. Starmer, stop trying to be an international statesman because you look like an idiot. It's like today being on a submarine. I tell you what you look like. You look like the bloke in Dad's Army. Do you remember that scene in Dad's Army where they capture a U-boat crew? I think it's the one where the classic line, "Don't tell them your name, Pike," comes from. I can't remember who plays the German. If you remember, drop us a little text on the side. We're still taking your views. If you want to put a text on the side, that'll be great. This is live at the moment. I haven't really done any advance notice because I just want to test the water. So I'm thinking of doing a lunchtime show most days, 20 minutes maximum, probably. Just a quick skirt through what's happening in the world. In the old days, it would have been, let's see what's in the papers. It's not really the way it is now. Who was that guy? Who was the U-boat skipper? Don't tell him your name, Pike. Famous actor. Can't remember his name now, but he was brilliant anyway. But that's who Starmer is, modelling his inner self on that. He's pathetic. And I don't think our boys will go and fight for him. What do you think? And of course, today, this is interesting about Finland as well. My old mate, the Prime Minister over there, the fact that Zelensky is in Finland at this moment and is in front of a computer, because they don't like that anymore. They don't need to meet each other. And he's going to tell the coalition of the useless what he spoke to President Trump about last night. So what is the point of the coalition of the useless? No one's in it anyway. No one's listening to Starmer. Trump's had his meeting with Zelensky. He's also had a meeting with Putin. It will be Trump who brings peace to Ukraine, not Starmer. Are you with me or against me? We'll talk about the rats in a moment. Pip Tomlinson, Starmer couldn't find the deck chairs on the Titanic, let alone rearrange them, John. He and Rachel from accounts have managed to alienate the left and the right. Yeah, that's an uncanny knack there. Quite an achievement, really. I agree with you. Nailcott Hall says, just what is going to happen to our national social life? Or is Starmer driving everyone into their homes to be media lectured and controlled in what we think and do, as in Putin's Russia? I agree with you. That's Rick there. He's in hospitality. He's right. We hardly ever go out nowadays. We're being conditioned to stay in our houses and just listen to the state propaganda of the BBC. They're loving this story. They've got a big picture of Keir on the submarine, but he's taken us down, deeper and down. Somebody has got to stop him. Peter2704 says on YouTube, he doesn't want to save pubs because they've all banned him. That's very true. Loads of boozers in Coventry got signs up saying Starmer banned. Slapping a bird's bottom. Trump is trying to end the Ukraine war. Europe seems to want to prolong it. Now, that's interesting. That's the kind of feeling I'm getting as well. That somehow there are warmongers amongst these European leaders, mainly because I guess they don't have to pay for the war, which is why Trump's getting a bit annoyed, to say the least. Why should Trump pay for NATO and everything when he doesn't want war? He wants peace. Oh, yeah, but he wants their minerals. Now he wants to be in charge of their nuclear plants. Well, it's probably a good idea that America's going to be in charge of the nuclear plants, because there's one thing that is sure. Putin isn't going to bomb an American nuclear plant or a power plant of any description, is he? Once you put Americans in there, that'll bring the security. But Starmer keeps telling us, no, we need boots on the ground. No, we don't, Starmer. And if we do need boots, let's start with your son. Let's get him in there, yeah? The boy who was so upset and nervous during his A-levels, he had to go to Lord Alley's multi-million-pound penthouse to revise, even after the exams were finished. Answer me that. Riddle me that one, Mr. Starmer. So anyway, the PM has gone to Barrow. He's gone on HMS Vanguard. It says here, what are the UK's nuclear-armed submarines? It's been at sea for more than 200 days. Why? because the others are being maintained, and we've always got to have one at sea. Putin must be sitting in the Kremlin laughing his duck off. Putin's grandson, if he's got one, has got more boats in his bathtub, as I've said before, than we've got at sea. Our Royal Navy, is it 7 boats we've got left? And a couple of submarines that are knackered? Nuclear deterrent, my backside. What's your view on that? Come on, let's have your reaction today. I'm on fire. I just think Starmer is a complete and utter con artist. He's conned himself into power by promising things which he's now not delivering. He's now wrecking the British economy along with that Rachel Reeves. Hospitality is only the beginning. There'll be no point in living in Britain. We won't be 23rd worst country in the world to live in. We'll be the bottom. We're already underneath Israel, and they've been having a bloody civil war, effectively, for the last however many years. That's how bad this country is. It's not just down to Starmer. It's down to all the political idiots who have been in control. But can you believe this? Vanguard has been patrolling at sea for more than 200 days. Can you imagine? They've just surfaced. And the captain says, aye, aye. He says, got some good news for you, boys. He'll go, oh, yeah, what's that then? What's that? The Prime Minister's going to be on the surface. He's coming to see us. He's dressed up in his boots. He's got his white Rolo neck submarines captain's jumper on. He hasn't. I'm just pulling the leg on that bit. And he wants to say hello to you. That's going to go down like a bucket of you-know-what, isn't it? Do you think after 200 days at sea, the sailors want to see him? Trump is trying to... Putin would never accept our troops in Ukraine, says Simon Hatt. And surely two-tier, free gear, never here, must know that. So it's all posturing and BS. Brilliant, Simon. Bang on the money. Bang on the money. Magpie 1972, it's a false direction. The coalition of the willing, in inverted commas, will not want boots on the ground, as it'll just be a target for Putin. I just think it's a joke. I just think it's an absolute joke. Trump is sorting it out. Starmer, stop meddling. Leave it to a real man. Not to you. Not to you. I know what you're after. You want the Nobel Peace Prize. Forget the Peace Prize. You're taking the peace out of the world. That's what you're doing. Coalition of the warmongers, more like, says Pom. I think that's fair enough. Andrew Lloyd says it was the Welsh actor Philip Maddock. What? What are you on about? Oh, the submarine skipper. Yes. Ruth Maddock's old man. Philip Maddock, you're right. In Dad's Army. Then he says, great show, Gaunty. You've obviously got fantastic taste. Thank you for that. Hope you're enjoying this little lunch time or romp through the big news stories of the day. If you like what I do, could you consider buying me a coffee? Been very short on the coffee front recently. You just go to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt and give me anything from a £5, right? Each coffee is a £5. Most people give 3 coffees. You don't have to, but if you want to give 1, that would be great. Don't forget to follow my John Gaunt TV channel on YouTube. That's brilliant. That's nearly burst through the 3,000 subscription mark. It's free to join. Why don't you do that as well? Because we are doing a radio, I used to say this before, and TV revolution, and you're part of it. Without you, I wouldn't be getting here, let me tell you. I just also want to say I am going to talk to you about the bins in any minute now, but also I will tell you the story about the time I nearly had a fight in the European Parliament with the Prime Minister, Alexander Stubb, I think his name is, of Finland. That's coming up later in the show. So let's talk about Birmingham. It's ridiculous. What are the mobile household waste centres the BBC are saying on their website? Because they've got rubbish piling up in the streets. The union says, well, I don't really want to be bothered what Unite is saying, or the council. Why on earth are they holding the people of Birmingham to ransom again? There should be a no-strike deal. These guys, the dustbin men, Mum, well, it's the dustbin men. They've only just gone back to work relatively. There was a massive strike a year or so ago. Birmingham is bankrupt. Birmingham's bankrupt because the council are useless. Absolutely bankrupt. And now the dustbin men are on strike. And people are saying, it's terrible. There's rats as big as cats. Yeah. So they put these mobile household waste centres. There's a load of pictures of people, you look at the pictures, I'm not commenting, depositing their rubbish there today. I've got a better idea. Why don't we become like Spain? Spain don't mess about. Or if you go to Tenerife or Gran Canaria, they have those huge dustbins at the end of the street. And the dustbin men and women, they work nights. So you hear the lorries come in and they empty these big bins. We don't need a bin in every house anymore. How old-fashioned is that? Have them at the end of the street. Recycling, whatever you want, all there. People go and put their rubbish in it. And I'll tell you something, fly tipping. Anybody who fly tips, I'll chop their bloody hands off, metaphorically speaking. Are you with me or against me? But the idea that a bin man can hold to ransom the British public is an absolute disgrace. Ban dustbin men from ever striking. I'm not saying it's the bin men's fault in this one, but I'm also saying Birmingham City Council are about as useless or as useful as a chocolate fireguard. They have bankrupted that great city, the city of Chamberlain, isn't it? Huh? Mind you, I see Sir Keir's trying to bring back the spirit. I don't know why Sir Keir isn't just on top of that submarine, waving a white piece of paper. Get your nose out of it, you idiot. You know nothing. The UK needs to stop meddling. What are they sending? What are they sending Prince William's to Estonia for? Just to start another front? I don't know. I think it's a joke. The whole thing is a joke. Lammy is a schoolboy in a world of rats. David Lammy, he's talking about. I've got his name right today. A Trident ballistic missile. Subs each carry up to 32 Trident missiles with at least half a dozen warheads each. At least one submarine is at sea constantly, and to maintain that capability, each submarine has 2 crews. Well, thank you for the information, Simon. But the bottom line is, Simon, we haven't got the troops to have a war, and Putin knows it. Simon says also, aren't they bankrupt, Birmingham, because of the balmy equal pay ruling? Yes, I think you're probably correct. Right, I can take a few more comments before I finish. As I say, this is going to be a lunchtime special. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. The proper show will be later, and I'll do another one for you later on this morning. Alexander Stubb and Finland. Let's talk about Finland. It's ranked as the world's happiest country for the 8th successive year, with experts citing access to nature, nudie, what do you call those places? Saunas, I guess, as well, and a strong welfare system as factors. It came ahead of 3 other Nordic countries in this year's, this is where you know this survey means absolutely jack shit, right? It was a United Nations sponsored World Happiness Report. While Latin America's Costa Rica, meant to be beautiful, I'd love to go there, and Mexico have entered the top 10 for the first time. Mexico? If Mexico is so good, how come everyone's trying to get into the States? Costa Rica is beautiful, I'm sure, but it's the UN. Again, about as much use as a chocolate fireguard. Instead of having a survey saying Finland's the greatest country to live in and we're only the 23rd, would they not be better trying to bring world peace? And I love the BBC. I'm looking at their website at the moment. It's so hackneyed to illustrate that it's Finland. They've got a bloke with no top on reading a book and some bird next to him with a towel wrapped tightly around her, and they're both in a sauna. Oh, they're so happy in Finland. Well, we're not going to be happy, have we? Because we've got the most ridiculous Prime Minister and sixth form government we've ever had. And they have to be removed. The only problem is, who would you replace them with? There's no one to replace them. Mark Bart says UK isn't meddling. It's the corrupt, deceitful, agenderized government. Oh, yeah, all right, with your conspiracies. Do you know what? I wish it was the New World Order in a sense, that it was actually some plan. There ain't no plan. Plan B is there ain't no plan B. There's no plan A, right? This is all cock up. This is useless people. The kind of kids at school would give a slap to. They were no good at anything. They're no good at sport. They're no good at academics. What did they do? They ended up being MPs and earning a massive, big, cushy salary from you and me, and then ignore us. Say whatever they want to say to get into power, and then just ignore us. So I'm sorry. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's cock up. Just a difference of opinion. Can I say to somebody today as well? Somebody come on today and said, I used to really love you, John, and everything you say, and I agree with most of it. But then you had that ridiculous attitude towards COVID. Like, COVID was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I said to him, get over it, mate. You don't have to like everything I say, and I don't have to like everything you say. That's called living in a free society. I don't want you all to go, yeah, Grunty's the master. Oh, he's the guru. Yes, free thinking. If you don't like what I say, tell me. But then let's move on. But if you think, and then he said, do you still hold the same views on COVID? Of course I fucking don't. The world's moved on and there's lots we found out, but I still believe the vaccination was necessary with all its faults. But I'm not going to have a big complicated conversation with you on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you wrote. You'll have to have it on my show. Be brave enough to get in touch. Thank you. Mark Bart says, I'll better put this one up so you can see it. Keep up the great work, John. Thank you very much indeed. Right, do you want the story? We're in the European Parliament. I went with Sean. Do you remember Sean? He was my producer and his guide dog. He was a blind guy. He was the best radio producer I've ever had. Why? Because he heard it all in his ears. He didn't get distracted by people being there. Anyway, it was Farage who set up the day. We went for 2 days. I think it was Brussels. Yeah, it was Brussels. To the Parliament there. Because, you know, the Parliament changes from 1 week to the next. And they move the whole blooming thing to Strasbourg. But it was in Brussels. The money was incredible. Every night of the week, there was a free buffet. Honestly, you would not believe the waste. It was the thing that finally convinced me we had to get out of the EU. And then I met this guy who has subsequently become the leader of Finland. He was so liberal, right? It was unbelievable. He was woke before there was woke. He was woke before we were awake. And we have a discussion about immigration. And I said, it's getting out of hand. We need to close our borders. I was a bit more strident in those days. This is on TalkSport, right? Da-da-da-da-da. And he said, you're a racist. Well, let me just read what the Independent said so you can get a flavour of this, right? Gaunt is a racist, claims MEP after stormy debate. This is on the 1st of December, 2007. I was but a mere boy, right? So we had a heated exchange during the programme. They've reported this wrong, the Independent. Well, they can't even spell, let alone get the story correct. Mr. Stubb accused the British presenter of being racist. And Mr. Gaunt, see, this is their bias. He can't just say, and John Gaunt said. And Mr. Gaunt, in typically pugnacious style, replied, fuck off. Well, and I put that in quotes. I did not say that, but that's what the Independent chose to print. Why? Because just like the BBC, they've got an agenda against Trump. In those days, their agenda, all the mainstream media was against me. Why? Because I had 1 million listeners and I was popular, right? They didn't like the fact I was a populist. They then say, this is mealy-mouthed words. Listen to how the press work. Afterwards, the host was heard, according to an observer, who they don't quote or don't name, i.e. it's bullshit, right? Was being reprimanded as unprofessional by his producer and reminded that he was recording in an open area of the European Parliament building. To the European Parliament building, number one. And number two, that's not true. In fact, Sean, when they asked him at the end of the conversation, it says Sean Dilley, a senior TalkSport producer, denied reprimanding the presenter, adding, you would not have heard me say he was unprofessional, and I do not wish to comment further. He then said, which is a great tactical thing to say, I enjoyed the debate with Mr. Stubb. It was possibly the most lively of the day. He's a very well-known and respected federalist, and it provided free and passionate debate. It did. It reminds me a bit of GB News. The moment anybody dares to pick up any of their guests on there, the lefty guests, then it's a pylon in the liberal press. It's a good job nobody reads these crap papers like The Guardian and indeed The Independent or even watches the BBC anymore. Otherwise, we'd have total censorship. I'll just tell you what they say. They say during the live debate, Mr. Gaunt, thank you, argued that immigration was suffocating Britain. Tell me if you disagree with this. This was back in 2007, and spoke in favour of closed borders, a viewpoint which prompted Mr. Stubb to respond that the freedom of people and services in the EU was a positive development. Oh, yeah. And then we found out, of course, Finland didn't have hardly any people coming into their country. And Mr. Gaunt accused the politician of inferring he was racist. Mr. Stubb denied. In fact, that's absolutely untrue. At the end of the programme, I said to him, I do not appreciate being called a racist on my own show. Mr. Stubb, the Prime Minister of Finland, right, said, I did not call you a racist, but you are one. And he said it like that, but you are one. It was like being in the playground. And that sums up European politicians. That sums up Finland. And it might be the best place in the world, according to UN. Well, why don't you all F off and live there and get out of our lives? But maybe just before you go, why don't you do something about the war in Ukraine, which President Trump is trying to sort out? Starmer, forget about the submarines. Forget about sending our boys to die in the soil of Ukraine. It's not our war. Do you hear me? Apparently, they've even got a third parliament building in Luxembourg. They have, Simon, you're right. But they don't use that one, as Luxembourg wanted paying for it. Mark Bart said, I was saying we, the people of the UK, are not our government. They don't represent us, the people. Thank you for your comments. I'm sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. And I've now done, how long have I done there? Too long. I've done too long. I'm only meant to be doing 15 to 20 minutes. You've got 26 minutes there, and you've not even paid for it. That's better than anything you can get on Talk Radio or GB News. Tune in every day, lunchtime, about 12:15, maybe 12:30. There'll be a John Gaunt show, just seeing what's in the news and having a quick first reaction. I'll probably do a longer podcast later, so stay tuned for that as well. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, John Gaunt TV. And don't forget, if you think it's good, don't just sit there laughing and telling all your mates about how good it is. How about contributing a little bit, a fiver, a cup of coffee? That's all you need to do. But until we speak again, I've really enjoyed that. Until we speak again, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Don't forget to tell them you love them. And don't forget, you never know, they might turn out to be the Prime Minister of Finland one day. See ya. Thanks. Bye.